One of the things we see when we look at deep time is a history of Earth's climate changing, and climate has always changed. I can remember once walking into the office of a United States senator and having the senator tell me that climate has always changed. But then the senator said, so we should not worry about humans changing the climate. Can you imagine the senator saying wildfires have always burned naturally, so we don't need to worry about those people with the illegal fireworks setting off a fire and burning down the town? Can you imagine a senator saying people have always died, so we don't need to worry about murder? And yet the senator said climate has always changed naturally, so we shouldn't worry about humans changing the climate. Climate has always changed proves the climate is changeable. We often discovered climate changes in history first by seeing the extinctions that they caused. A big release of CO2 made it too hot for large creatures to live near the equator, so they died. And it made it too hot to have a lot of oxygen in the ocean, so a lot of more things died. And so the history of climate change proves that it's important because it always interacted with life. When we really work through the details of the history and of the physics, we see that many things have changed climate, but especially natural changes in CO2. Carbon dioxide has been the biggest control knob. We know that what's going on now is driven by humans, not by nature, but we've grabbed the biggest control knob on Earth's climate, and we're turning it really fast, primarily by burning fossil fuels and releasing the CO2 to change the climate. Many of those fossil fuels formed in those really warm times in the past when there was less oxygen in the ocean. Plants growing at the surface grabbed CO2, made plant, it sank, but it didn't get used by things living down below to release the CO2 back because the oxygen was gone and those things were dead. And so those dead plants were buried and they made fossil fuels. And we're digging up 100 million years plus of fossil fuels and burning them in 100 years or so, undoing what nature did slowly, very rapidly, to change the climate in ways that will make it much harder for us to live. So when we look at the history of climate change, it actually shows us that what we're doing now has even greater impacts than you might first have thought. And it makes it clear that it's even more valuable for us to use what we can do to build a sustainable energy system that doesn't drive these changes in the climate.